Hey man, shout out to Fantastic Hip Hop once again. Going crazy, man. They got this every diss on Eminem's new album, Fully Explained. Hey man, as y'all know, Eminem just dropped The Death of Slim Shady. So let's go ahead and get into it, dog.
Now, with Eminem's 12th studio album, The Death of Slim Shady, as this album has created a storm in the music world that only few other records have been able to match this year. One of the reasons why this has been is because of all of the name drops and disses Eminem throws out on this album, which from newfound haters, longtime rivals, and people who M has been waiting to unleash his lyrical wrath on for decades. There are few albums in the catalog of Marshall Mathers that can compare to this project in terms of the sheer amount of jabs being thrown right out in other people's faces, and from name drops that are meant to poke fun, not to some of his greatest competition as a rapper, and to the jabs that are so lyrically insane that they may just start the next all-out rap beef.
Hey man, Eminem had Twitter going crazy, dog. You feel me? I already know like top few, you feel me? Of course, a lot of his people responded already, you feel me? So I'm going to let Fantastic Hip, goddamn, I'm going to let Fantastic Hip Hop get into that.
Eminem did not hold back in any regard when it came to delivering his final performance as Slim Shady, but before we can start to look at all of the major callouts on this record, I think it's important to make one thing clear. Now, with all of the verbal attacks on this album, one thing that certain corners of the internet are forgetting at this point is that there is a clear line between people that Eminem is poking lightly and who he actually wants to escalate a full-on conflict with. And as even despite Eminem stating that this record is a concept album and that it needs to be listened to in its proper context for it to make total sense, this hasn't stopped major personalities in hip-hop media like DJ Academics from taking M's words out of the place they were supposed to be read in and using them to push his own personal agenda, and this happened most prevalently with the bars on the intro track Renaissance where it says, "Kendrick's album was cool, but it didn't have any bangers." And while Act tried to pull a quick one on social media and make people think that Eminem is dissing Kendrick,
Man, Ack is so goddamn compromised. This shit is so fucking ridiculous, man. That shit is lame at this point. At first, I thought he was trying to kind of trolling with it, but now it's like, you lame, bro. Like, go look at his entire Twitter feed, bro. It's nothing but Drake glaze. You feel me? Even worse, like he's amplified the glaze. So that shit crazy, man.
Lamar to try to shift the spotlight from all of the negative attention surrounding Drake. When you actually look at this bar for what it is, from M's voice on the track which is delivering this bar in a tone that is mocking another voice, to the lyrics then literally being transcribed in quotations to express that Eminem is not saying this but instead quoting somebody else. When you look at what this album is actually standing for beyond the sensationalism of social media, it's clear that this name drop and also the bars where he says, Wayne's album or Ye's couldn't tell which one was lamer, Joyner's album was corny, Shady's new stuff is way worse, everything is either too tame and there's too much anger, I didn't like the beat so I hate and might delete later. It's clearly a way of them paying homage to Kendrick, Lil Wayne, Ye, J. Cole, and Joyner Lucas. But with all of the confusion around these lines due to the misinformation that Academics is spreading, I think it's just important to make it clear that none of these name drops were disses, and as he goes on to express later in the track, Eminem is actually defending all of these rappers from the constant criticism that seems to be always getting echoed throughout the internet, and now while Eminem shouts out all of these rappers in support of what they do, one of the most interesting things we find out later in the project through a subliminal diss is Eminem's stance on who won the beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake, because on the track Lucifer, M compares himself to Kendrick as he says that beefing with him is just as unwise of a thing to do as beefing with Lamar, which...
Hey, man, real recognize real, dog. You feel me? When it comes to craftsmanship and just being a student to the game, Eminem and Kendrick Lamar are on par with each other. Drake is not in their league. When it comes to being a student of this shit, hell no. You feel me? Like I said, like Drake is like a street fighter. You feel me? He's the person that says, I'll go crazy when I get mad. I start to black out. And then he'll go against an actual professional fighter who's trained like Eminem or Kendrick. It's like, bro, why are you blacking out? Why are you sing red? You feel me? You trying to go a street fighter trying to go against a pro fighter. Like, bro, you can't bring your BBL abs into this octagon. You're actually genuinely out of shape. You can't just sculpt yourself and pretend to be in shape, bro. You're going to get somebody who actually does 1,000 sit-ups. Of course you'll get your ass whooped. You feel me?
Implies that Eminem sees Kendrick Lamar as one of the only rappers who is on his level, and while this isn't a direct diss to Drake, it's just showing to the world another major player in the hip-hop world who thinks that Drake just got humiliated by Kendrick Lamar. But now moving past this and into some more direct lyrical jabs, another rapper Eminem references on this album twice is Megan Thee Stallion, with both the line on Houdini. If I was to ask Megan Thee Stallion if she would collab with me, would I really have a shot at a feat? And earlier in the album's track list, he brings up her name again, saying, "Cause I can spit a bar so hard, Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj will scissor," which in of itself is one of the most clever lyrics on the entire album, but with this bar, while it's not inherently a diss, with Megan being in the category of people whose name was brought up more than once on this album and whose controversial issues like her incident with Tory Lanez are being directly referenced. To audiences who are not as familiar with Slim Shady and Megan alike, this can be seen as more than just playfully chaotic banter that's being used to create that crazy Slim Shady chaos, and who knows, with Megan showing that she is not afraid to clap back at massive names in the industry like Nicki Minaj and Drake. It will be interesting to see how she handles being somewhat of a lyrical focal point on this LP, and speaking of people who are lyrical focal points, the most referenced person on this entire project is not a rapper or a longtime foe of Eminem, but it's Caitlyn Jenner, who over and over again, Eminem references when he is trying to depict the true nature of who Slim Shady really is, and while referencing her about almost 10
You mean, man, that's a fucking low-hanging fruit. That's easy for somebody like Eminem. Especially, like, imagine just early Slim Shady, like 2000s. Just imagine. Bro, that's a toss-up. You feel me? That's a home run. Easy.
times on this project is definitely excessive. When we look at the concept of this album and what the message Eminem is trying to depict as he revisits the Slim Shady character, I think it's safe to say that Eminem doesn't actually have any sort of real issues with Caitlyn Jenner, and that this was all to just play into the concept of the album and the fact that Slim Shady can no longer exist in the year 2024. Now, with that being said, Caitlyn's name being brought up so much on this project, it will be interesting to see how the media handles Eminem doing this going forward, and if she will even feel a way about it as a whole. Now, another person that is being dissed within a similar way on this project is Lizzo, who Eminem targets by coming at her appearance with the bars on the track Road Rage ain't never really truly over till Lizzo sings, which in a string of major name drops that have made for headlines that span much further than the general rap world. This is another major moment on this record where Slim Shady calls out Lizzo.
That's the thing though, Lizzo, she ain't high public favor no more. You feel me? So maybe like 2 years ago, yeah, people were like, "Oh my gosh, how could you say that about Lizzo?" But right now it's like, oh well. Dang, 2 years is crazy. How things can change.
And then uses the rest of this track to go on a whole rant about the lifestyle that she seems to promote, and while there are layers of sarcasm in this, the line of what is satire and what's serious is kind of blurred here because Eminem's vocals are not edited in the Slim Shady voice in the same manner that some of the other disses on the record are, and beyond just this, with the way this album's already being pulled out of context, and as a result, the way its lyrics are being judged without understanding the larger story regardless. While this doesn't appear to be a lyric that Eminem is saying with any sort of true anger or animosity, only time will tell if Lizzo recognizes this as a fair thing to say in an artistic statement or if she will feel disrespected by M's harsh words. And with the way she has responded to other satirical jokes about her, I would expect this to go pretty bad. Now, a long-running target of Slim Shady's that is brought back here all the way to the point where he has an entire song dedicated to him in Brand New Dance is Christopher Reeves. And while it's very confusing on the surface why Eminem is dissing the late actor who was best known for portraying Superman, we do get more context on why this happened, which is actually explained later on the album's climax as Eminem and Slim Shady go head-to-head on Guilty Conscience 2, where we find out that Brand New Dance was a song recorded in 2004 for Eminem's project Encore, and the track never came out because Reeves passed around the time it would have been released, but even back then, there was never any actual recorded beef between Eminem and Christopher Reeves, and throughout many of his albums, songs, and freestyles during the golden age of his career, Eminem would just use his name time after.
Yeah, that's like, goddamn, he just threw Christopher Reeves in there. I guess, what the fuck Christopher Reeves do? You feel me? Like, R.I.P., man. The OG Superman, you feel me? God damn. Yeah, but he was just picking people. You feel me? It's like he just threw a dart at a fucking dartboard. He just said, I'm gonna just pick you. On some Russian roulette type shit. God damn.
Eminem would just use his name time after time to stir up that classic Slim Shady controversy. And when you dig a little deeper into M's life, it's also pretty easy to find out that Eminem was a big fan of superheroes, and Superman included, so in a strange, very Slim Shady-like way. I think on some level we can assume that by mentioning Christopher Reeves on this album, it's his own one-of-a-kind way of saluting somebody that he respects, no matter how disrespectful it may seem without the proper context. Now, looking at more rappers that Eminem subliminally dissed on this album, while there are a lot of celebrity name drops throughout the album, some that are direct disses and some that are just using the celebrities' likenesses to allude to something Eminem is trying to portray, there were also some hidden lyrical signals targeted to other rappers that were secret ways of Eminem challenging some of his greatest peers, and at the top of this list is none other than Jay-Z, who on the track Toby gets called out by Eminem through some pretty clever wordplay that references where Jay-Z is.
Yeah, I talked about this one, dog. I talked about this one in a previous video, a little bit more in depth, but yeah, Eminem swinging, man. He's trying to bring the competition back, man.
Which also happens to be the exact name of his most iconic song. And then Eminem questions how Jay-Z could be higher up on an all-time list than him if M has absolutely watched Jay before on a track together, which is of course referring to Jay-Z's track off the Blueprint Renegade, in which Eminem delivered one of the greatest feature verses ever. Now, I have another video breaking down this song and how Eminem also dissed Melly Mel for being a hater, and how he subliminally threw shots at Drake and J. Cole through the track's branding, tagline, and cover art. So definitely watch that after this if you want to see how layered that song really is in of itself. But continuing to look at some of the other rappers that got some lyrical attention from Eminem. Another name who is mentioned multiple times after being defended as an artist on the intro track is Kanye West, and through two different lines that talk about Kanye going off the deep end in their own way. While some have assumed that Eminem is trying to shade Ye or call him out for some of the things that he has done over the past few years, I think when you look at these references in context of the story on the album, Eminem is using Ye's name to just add to the controversial nature of the record, and to just further bring to life the Slim Shady character, with a person whose name in of itself inflicts so much emotion, which is something that Eminem has done in the past on a song like No Love all the way back in 2010 on Recovering. And if anything, the person who got the worst part of these Ye lines was Kim Kardashian. As Eminem said, they want to see me going off the deep end like Ye, rather see me do like Kim Kardashian, they say, and find a way to really get rid of all this Ray J, which really makes her the target and punchline of this joke, if anything, in one of the most clever and hilarious ways possible. Now, while all the disses we have looked at so far in the grand scheme of Eminem's lyrics and intentions are meant to be taken as more of a joke or even a sign of mutual respect in some instances, as opposed to threats that are trying to escalate something much bigger. And a good portion of the remaining celebrity name drops when it comes to people who have been involved in recent controversies are only here to make fun of public figures who have made some very horrible choices. The next disses we are going to be looking at are ones that are meant to create serious ripples, not just through the rap world, but through the people who he seriously has a problem with. And in this regard, one of the biggest targets here is MGK, who gets dissed on the track Bad One, where in a moment on the album where Eminem is rapping through his own conscience and not Slim Shady's, he goes on to say, "But I gotta keep going Tyson on Kelly. I bodied him twice and already. That little mother back throwing subs like a food fight at the deli."
That's crazy. They still beefing. You feel me? MGK gone somewhere, man. You feel me? Go ahead and do your rock shit. You leave that shit alone.
And while earlier on the album on the track Guilty Conscience 2, Eminem is so sick of Slim Shady that he says he is willing to end the beef with some of the biggest names in his career who he has never stopped going back and forth with, which included MGK. As this album got closer to releasing, I'm gonna guess that he went back on his words as MGK went on Twitter and said that Eminem did not win their beef, and this must have made him once again address Kelly and the fact that he is still delusional about what happened between them, and as MGK instigated this into happening by continuing to talk about the beef online recently, as we have seen. It almost seems like he wants to have another direct matchup with them, so who knows? Maybe we will get another round of back and forths between these two, which will definitely be a sight to see, and right alongside MGK. Another one of Eminem's longtime rivals that he is still continuing to diss here in a way to just make them look more pathetic than ever is Ja Rule, which after M used the Slim Shady persona to make this running theme on the album that he hates little people, He then twists this joke and puts it on a path that nobody could have expected, as he says that he was referring to Ja Rule the whole time, which is a great way to just humiliate a rapper who seems to always be getting more and more disrespected as time goes on.
Bro, Ja Rule had one of the best careers of all time. That shit has been overlooked for a decade, bro. Like, bro, imagine you, like, he has hits on hits on hits, and nobody cares. It's like I was just listening to like a playlist, just bumping like the old Ja Rule and Ashanti. It's like, bro, this nigga got hits, and who cares? It's like, bro, who cares?
Now, beyond these two longtime rivals who at this point have been left in a place where they only have the chance to make themselves look like even more of a fool for messing with Eminem, the only non-musical figure that Eminem comes at with genuine lyrical fury here is Candace Owens, which after Owens has bashed Eminem for quite some time for making fun of his album Revival to then running around and making think pieces about his sexuality, M gave her the response that she was pretty much asking for, and with a series of lyrics that melt down her entire brand and what she built her career off of. Eminem puts her on the hot seat in classic Slim Shady fashion, and while he isn't really saying anything that hasn't already been put out there before this, between the lyrical fire M comes at her with to also the twisted Slim Shady humor, which makes this dynamic between them all the more sick. Eminem hits Candace Owens with some of the most lyrical fire he has targeted anyone with in a while, and if it wasn't for one other person, this may have ended up as the most memorable diss on the entire record. But beyond all of these, there is one beef on this project that Eminem is ripping the band-aid off after years of having to sugarcoat his words and thoughts, and with this target, it's clear that this person is being lyrically attacked more than
This shit was cold. God damn.
anyone else on this project to not create controversy or to spark some sort of sensationalist back and forth. But it's because Eminem genuinely despises this person and is more than happy to finally see their downfall, and I am of course talking about Diddy, who over and over again on this LP doesn't just get dissed by Eminem, but even gets exposed, as we learn one of the most important figures in the rap world's true thoughts on Diddy's relation to the late Tupac and Biggie, as on the track Fuel, which has one of the best features of the entire year from none other than JID, which shout out to him, Eminem delivers one of his best performances on the entire LP, as through his insanely high energy and lyrical tenacity, he exposes Diddy through some of the most creative but also damaging wordplay that you can possibly write about somebody on a piece of paper, as from sounding out the word rapper and missing a letter so then he can say, he didn't just spell out the word rapper and leave out a P, did he? To then claiming that he believes Diddy is the one who is directly the reason why Pac and Biggie are no longer here. Eminem rips all the bandages off and serves as the first major figure in hip-hop to speak out against him on this high of a magnitude. And beyond these bars, he also puts an emphasis on clowning him throughout the rest of the LP, as from bringing up the disturbing footage that leaked of Diddy earlier this year, to the situation with him and the destruction of Kid Cudi's car, all with the lyrical wit that will leave you thinking how somebody even thought to say this. Through every corner and act of this album, Eminem is bringing up Diddy to not just add to the insane nature of Slim Shady's mind and to add more controversy and buzz to this record, but he's also doing this to truly unveil his feelings about the man who he has clearly not liked for a very long time, as in years past, as Eminem pretty much was forced to apologize to Diddy and say that he was joking when accusing him of the same horrible things on a track like his MGK diss track Killshot. With everything that's happened recently, he now could say these things without any repercussions, and in a year where it feels like in many ways, hip-hop...
You feel me? And you know, and 50 Cent close. So you know how 50 Cent feels, so it's like, of course.
Leaning back into its pure roots more than it has been in a very long time, it's super powerful to hear Eminem diss one of the most crooked and evil men in all of the genre, and on one of the biggest albums the music world will receive all year. Just publicly humiliate him, not just for the things we already know, but for the things many people have been thinking for a very long time. And with that said, there you have it. There is every major diss on Eminem's new album explained, and let me know, what did you think about all the lyrical jabs, shoutouts, and disses Eminem threw out on the record? Which ones were your favorite? Did you think all...
Hey man, it's Slim Shady, dog. So I'm guessing, like he said, the album is the death of Slim Shady, but of course he's never gonna leave that part of him behind. Of course, you feel me? Like he said, it's a concept album, right? But hey, y'all go check the album out, man. I think I just saw something on DJ Academic's Twitter page. He sold, I think he's projected like 260 first week. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. So shout out to Eminem. Shout out to Eminem and his fans. So hey, see you on the next one, man.